Hello there, guys. My name is Drew Rubicki. I hope you're ready to learn because today I'm going to be talking to you about an important event in Christian history, specifically the Peace of Augsburg in 1555. I am doing this for my Christian history class for Dr. Elliston. Now, to understand the Peace of Augsburg, some context is needed. In 1517, Martin Luther, he famously nailed the 95 Theses to the door of the church in Wittenberg Castle, and thus he kicked off what came to be known as the Protestant Reformation. Fast forward several decades, and what started out as a simple act of protest by a monk has exponentially grown and spread across Europe like a virus. Many of the existing powers at the time saw this as a way to escape the domination of the Holy Roman Emperor, who was Charles V. Charles V ruled from 1519 to 1556, and so he reigned from pretty much this entire time of the early Reformation. However, he was an emperor, and so he wasn't going to take these little acts of rebellion just lying down. And so, in order to protect themselves from the wrath of Charles V, a large group of Protestant princes, they were pretty much all Lutherans, which was the main branch of Protestantism at this time. They banded together to form the Schmalkaldic League in the year 1531. They pledged mutual defense and support to each other, and they existed in pretty much harmony together for about 15 years, because Charles V was busy defending his other realms, such as Spain and fighting in Italy. However, when he finally was able to turn his attention back to his empire, the Holy Roman Empire, he found that there were massive forces of Protestants, and in order to combat this, he formed a league, and he fought them in the years 1546 to 1547. And in several battles, Charles became overwhelmingly victorious, and so he forced with the aid of the Elector Maurice, he forced them to the bargaining table in the year 1548. And so this was known as the Augsburg Interim, and this was not as important because after this, Charles V's ally Maurice betrayed him, and they fought for several more years until 1552 at the Peace of Passau, in which both sides were exhausted and agreed to come to the bargaining table. So they came in the year 1555. Charles sent his brother Ferdinand, who would later become the Emperor Ferdinand I, to work out a deal. And so they worked out the three main points of the Peace of Augsburg. First was the concept of cuius regio eius religio was established, which meant that the religion of the prince or the leader of the state in the Holy Roman Empire, whatever his religion is, that would be the tolerated religion of his state. However, this only accounted for the two most popular groups, the Catholics and the Lutherans, and it did not account for the smaller sects like the Calvinists and the Anabaptists, and so they weren't protected under this, and they were considered heretics by both sides. The second was the concept of reservatum ecclesiasticum was created, which was like point one, but for religious states, and it stated that if religious leaders who were the powerful religious leaders who were known as prince bishops, if they converted to another religion, the people of their states wouldn't have to convert to his religion, and it was expected that the prince bishop would step down. And finally, Ferdinand himself put in what came to be known as the Declaration of Ferdinand, which was kept more secret than the other two, which said most knights didn't have to follow the previous two policies, and certain cities were allowed to ignore them, provided that they get along and stop causing unrest and civil war. So this Peace of Augsburg remained in effect for several decades until the other groups like Calvinism became overwhelmingly more popular, and so all the sides started ignoring it. This contributed towards the 30 Years' War, which would start in 1618 and continue until 1648 at the Peace of Westphalia, which granted toleration to all these religious minorities like Calvinism. I've been Drew Bickey. Thank you for listening, and have a wonderful day.